You're standing at the edge of a forest. 30,000 years ago, dawn is just breaking. You hear a branch snap somewhere to your left. Then silence. You can't see what made that sound. You have no spear, no fire, nothing but a stick and the people beside you. So the question is simple. How are you still alive? How did a species this physically outmatched survive long enough to build cities, write history, and watch videos about why they shouldn't exist? The answer is stranger and more remarkable than most people expect. Let's be honest about what was out there. The megafauna of the Pleistocene wasn't just dangerous. It was specifically designed by millions of years of evolution to kill large mammals. Smilodon populator, the largest of the saber-toothed cats, had canines over 11 inches long. It weighed up to 880 pounds. Its forelimbs were built like a wrestler's. It didn't chase prey across open ground. It ambushed. It waited near water sources at dusk and launched from cover at speeds approaching 30 miles per hour. One strike to the throat and the prey was finished before it hit the ground. And that was just one of them. Pachycrocuta, the giant short-faced hyena, stood nearly 3 feet at the shoulder and had a bite force exceeding 1,000 pounds per square inch. It crushed femur bones the way you'd crush a cracker. Entire packs of them roamed at night when early humans had almost no useful vision. Cave lions ranged across Europe, Asia, and into Alaska. They were roughly 25% larger than any lion alive today and hunted in coordinated groups. Dire wolves ran in packs sometimes exceeding 30 animals. In South America, terror birds stood 10 feet tall and could split a human skull with a single downward strike of their beak. And everywhere you look in the fossil record, early humans show up as prey, not as hunters, as prey. Researchers at Sterkfontein in South Africa found Australopithecine bones carrying tooth marks consistent with large cats. At Swartkrans, dozens of early hominin remains showed evidence of carnivore feeding. These weren't isolated incidents or rare tragedies. This was the normal state of things for millions of years. Something was always eating us. We were on the menu long before we could do anything about it. Here's the thing. We weren't just vulnerable. We were almost comically unprepared. A chimpanzee, our closest living relative, possesses muscular strength 3 to 4 times greater than an adult human. They have real canine teeth. They can climb 40 feet in seconds. They're fast and they're aggressive. And they still get ambushed and killed by leopards on a regular basis. We were weaker than chimps, slower on the ground. Our senses were worse at almost everything that mattered. Our night vision was effectively useless. We couldn't detect a predator 200 yards upwind the way baboons can. We walked upright, which made us visible above the grass from a quarter mile away. Our infants were loud and couldn't move independently for more than a year. On paper, we had no business surviving the Pleistocene. Not 1 million years of it, let alone 2. Every biological measurement pointed toward extinction. But here's where it changes. Fire. The Wonderwork Cave in South Africa contains burned bone fragments and ash layers dating back 1 million years. Controlled fire. A deliberate hearth tended by human hands. And fire didn't just provide warmth. It rewrote the terms of every interaction with every large predator on the continent. A burning fire creates a perimeter roughly 30 feet across that large carnivores will not cross. It's hardwired. That perimeter bought something more valuable than heat. It bought time. Before fire, darkness meant paralysis. You stopped. You hid. You stayed completely still and hoped. After fire, you had 3 or 4 extra hours each night. That's time to talk, time to plan, time to make things. And making things is where early humans start separating themselves from everything else that breathed. Fire also changed what we ate. Cooked meat releases more usable calories than raw meat does. The same portion of animal protein delivers significantly more energy once it's been heated through. That caloric gain mattered enormously because the human brain is extraordinarily expensive to operate. At rest, doing nothing at all, your brain burns roughly 20% of your body's total energy budget. For millions of years, raw food couldn't sustain a brain that size. Cooking changed the math. Richard Wrangham at Harvard has argued this connection for decades, and the fossil record backs him up. Around the time controlled fire appears in the archaeological record, cranial capacity begins increasing measurably across hominin lineages. More brain meant better planning. Better planning meant fewer people getting ambushed at the water's edge. It's a feedback loop that accelerated over hundreds of thousands of years. The second advantage was endurance. We're genuinely slow in a straight line. A saber-toothed cat hits full speed in about 3 seconds. We take considerably longer and go considerably slower. But here's what almost no other large predator can do. Run for 6 hours without stopping. Persistence hunting is one of the oldest documented strategies in human prehistory. You don't sprint after an animal. You locate it and you jog. Just fast enough that it has to keep moving. An antelope runs hard, stops to rest, runs again. But unlike you, it can't sweat efficiently across its whole body while in motion. It overheats. Its core temperature climbs. After 4 or 5 hours of being pushed at a trot across open ground, it collapses from heat exhaustion. And then you walk up to it. Just endurance and the ability to read terrain well enough to track something for half a day without losing it. That tracking ability connects directly to the third weapon, pattern recognition. Human brains pull meaning from incomplete information faster than any other animals. Broken vegetation tells you something walked through here. The depth and spacing of tracks tells you the animal's size, weight, and gait. Early humans weren't just moving through their environment. They were reading it like a dense text. And they applied that same skill to predators. When does the cave lion come down to drink? Which routes does it favor? How does its behavior shift when it catches the smell of smoke? This knowledge accumulated carefully across lifetimes. But here's the critical part. It didn't die with the people who learned it. A woman who survived a lion attack because she noticed a specific pattern of behavior knew something the younger hunters didn't. She told them. The knowledge compounded forward. None of these weapons work in isolation. And the one that actually made the decisive difference was cooperation. Not just hunting together, something deeper than that. In Dmanisi, Georgia, archaeologists excavated a skull dating to roughly 1.8 million years ago. This individual had lost every single tooth years before death. Years before. Without teeth, you cannot chew raw meat. You can't process most fibrous plant food either. This person survived for years inside one of the most predator-dense environments in Earth's history, without the ability to feed themselves independently. Someone fed them. Someone processed or cooked food soft enough to eat and shared it deliberately. No other predator does this. A wolf with no teeth is dead within weeks. A toothless person remains supported by their community. That distinction is not small. It's one of the most important differences in the fossil record. Shanaidar Cave in northern Iraq held a Neanderthal skeleton from around 60,000 years ago. This individual had a badly withered right arm, almost certainly from a childhood injury. He had severe degenerative joint disease throughout his skeleton. He had suffered significant head trauma at some point. He was partially blind. And he lived to approximately 40 years old under conditions that would have killed an injured wolf or bear in a matter of weeks. His group kept him alive deliberately. They shared food with him. They offered protection. They chose consciously to carry someone who could no longer contribute fully to the hunt. This is qualitatively different from pack behavior in other species. Wolves cooperate to bring down prey. Humans cooperate to keep injured individuals alive long in. For them to teach everything they know to the next generation. That cooperation also made human hunting fundamentally different from anything else operating on the landscape. Wolves run together by instinct and reflex. Humans divided into assigned roles and coordinated through language. You take the ridge. 3 of us drive the animal toward the cliff. Someone else cuts off the water route. At Schoningen in Germany, researchers recovered wooden throwing spears dating to roughly 400,000 years ago. Balanced, tapered, and aerodynamic. Built to be accurate and lethal at 30 feet. A saber-toothed cat charging at 30 miles per hour has no evolved response to a group of 5 humans standing in a semicircle and throwing sharpened projectiles at it simultaneously. It evolved over millions of years to ambush solitary prey by surprise. It had no answer for coordinated distance attacks. The rules of engagement had shifted completely. Most predators just hadn't figured that out yet. And then things accelerated. Around 50,000 years ago, modern humans expanded out of Africa in significant numbers and began moving into Europe, Central Asia, and eventually Australia and the Americas. The same pattern repeated on every continent they reached. Smilodon went extinct around 10,000 years ago, the short-faced bear around 11,000, cave lions around 14,000. In Australia, roughly 23 of 24 large mammal genera disappeared shortly after humans arrived. In the Americas, more than 35 genera of large animals vanished within a few thousand years of first contact. Climate change contributed. No serious researcher dismisses it entirely, but the timing is difficult to explain away. Every continent, every time, wherever humans showed up with coordinated hunting, fire, and projectile weapons, the megafauna collapsed within a geological eye blink. These were animals that had dominated their ecosystems for millions of years. Short-faced bears survived multiple ice ages. Cave lions outlasted enormous climate swings across tens of thousands of years. They weren't wiped out by temperature alone. They were outcompeted by creatures a fraction of their size who had learned how to think around physical limitations. Every one of your ancestors made it through a morning like that one at the forest's edge. They made it because someone taught them something. They made it because someone fed them when they were too hurt to feed themselves. They made it because a group of people with wooden spears and a plan could stand their ground against something that should have been unstoppable. And every time they survived, they told someone else exactly how they did it.